Forager is a 2D survival game where you spawn in on an island with just a pickaxe. And to get off the island, you have to forge. But you can't just take the neighboring islands like someone I know. You have to buy them with gold doubloons like a good tax-paying citizen. But that is just one aspect of this game. There are currently 103 different achievements that you can get. Anywhere from owning every weapon in the game to having 1 trillion coins. And it all starts here. Here we are, just me and some trees and rocks. The first thing I did was get this glowing creature, but besides that, there wasn't much else on this island, so I got to work harvesting until I could make a furnace. With this furnace, it could be used to smelt down resources into an assortment of new resources like gold bars and even steel. But I got my first level and I had to make a choice on which research path I would go down first. Economy, which gives me 40 coins instantly. Magic, which gives me a permanent 25% boost on XP I gained. Foraging, which allows new plants to spawn like cotton, wheats, and beets. And the one that I picked was Industry, which unlocked glass and steel. Looking back on this now, picking Industry probably wasn't the smartest first choice, but I'm not really a smart man. Now, I was using my food faster than an obese mukbang, so I needed to make a fish trap. But for that, I would need berries, which I had 0. But once they did spawn, I reinvested my food to get more food. I leveled up again, and this time I unlocked the foraging tier. I now had the resources to make a forge, so I placed that on. And with the forge, it allowed me to create items like upgrading my pickaxe or making coins to expand my island. Hey, would you look at that? Another fucking level. And I used it on another useless upgrade.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
My island was being stripped from its natural resources, and I needed to desperately expand. So I headed to the forge and made some coins so I can buy the next island. With my pockets filled to the brim with coin, I bought my first big boy purchase. And it had what looked to be a chapel, but when I went in there, it was just a little old grandma, and she told me that this was the museum, where I can put different resources to put on display. But enough with that lame stuff, I want to upgrade my pickaxe because it is taking way too long to break 1 rock. And I wasn't even close to affording it, so I just spent my new level on gathering, which gave me an extra 4 spaces in my backpack. I placed a sewing station, and this would allow me to upgrade my backpack and wallet, but I couldn't upgrade either. So I went back to breaking shit and I got a level and I spent it on economy because I was so down bad for some coin. So hold me when I'm here, love me when I'm wrong. It gave me enough coins to buy 2 islands. And on the first one, it had a chest that I couldn't open. And on the other, it was a simple puzzle that I solved and it gave me another chest. Once I had the keys, I went to the first chest and it gave me a top hat, which made coins worth a little bit more. And the second chest gave me a fish net, which made my fish traps collect themselves, which was clutch because that means I can place a bunch more traps and I wouldn't have to run around collecting them all.
New level alert, new level alert. I unlocked leather and XP.
I had too much shit in my inventory, so I upgraded my backpack, and every time I upgrade this, I would gain 4 more inventory slots. Well, another level. I'm getting more levels than a homeless guy buys fentanyl. On this new island, I was greeted with a bull, who I outsmarted and went to go talk to this lady, who was sitting on a fountain and she wanted me to pay her $1,000 for her power. That sounds like a lot to me, like she is a hooker, I'm gonna be honest, but I didn't have the money for that, so I went back to harvesting when a new level hit and I unlocked markets. And finally, after some grinding and collecting bugs, I could upgrade my pickaxe and it gave me the slime pick, which increases my base damage and some resources will drop slime now. Yeah, this is the last level up I'm going to talk about because I don't think y'all want to see me level up 65 times and talk about every one. I made a slime wallet, holy fuck. I made a slime wallet, which kind of sounds like... Anyways, I bought another island which had 2 bulls protecting some shrine looking thing, but after I activated it, it gave me an XP boost every time I forged something. And I thought this would be the perfect island to put one of my markets down. So I placed it in the market, allows me to buy random items at a very, very high price, but it also allows me to sell my items for coins. The first thing I sold was some seaweed that my fish traps have been collecting and I really didn't need it. After selling that, I spent the money on 2 brand new islands. The closest one to me had a big ass tree with some frog looking grandpa asking for 2 glow bugs. And the other one had a family of sentient beets that I would never hurt. I don't know how in the world I got that achievement. Anyways, I gathered some glow bugs and returned to the old man and he gave me a scroll for it and I immediately took that thing and put it in the museum. When I went back to the old man, he had another task for me, which was bullshit, so I went and broke into his tree. And in there, I learned I can change my appearance, so...
Give it up for the brand new look.
Yeah, this is all I could come up with. I didn't have that many cosmetics. I went back to farming and I thought this was the perfect time to expand my furnaces because I was moving up in the world. It was time to spend my entire savings again on another island, and this one had a pretty little rainbow in the middle with a flower puzzle that I solved pretty easily. And the chest was a lantern that would make it easier to see in the dark, which was cool, I guess. It was time to make some real fucking money, and I placed down my first bank, which gives me a coin every 10 seconds. So to get to 1 trillion coins, it would take me 317,000 years. But I have a better way later on in the video. I bought another island, and this one had a desert temple, and when I went in, it was a big ass puzzle. When I got to the next room, I saw an enemy that I've yet to see, and he fucking flash stepped me, so I ran out of there. When I was wandering around the old man's tree, I found a star that was just sitting there, so I did what anyone else would do. I stole that thing, and I don't know what I could use it for yet, so I just held on to it. My inventory was filling up faster than the movie theater to Doom 2, and I had to do something about it. So I placed down a vault, which allowed me to store 6 items in it. After saving up my coin for a little while, I finally had 1,000 coins. So I went to the fairy queen or whatever she was and I gave everything to her. And she gave me some power up that can restore my health and energy passively. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this even works because in the whole playthrough I didn't gain health or energy once. I made a shovel and when I got my hands on it, I started going berserk. I had no idea what a shovel was used for, but it made some cool spots in the ground, that's all that matters. But on a positive note, I did double my bank production. So now it would only take me 158,000 years to get to 1 trillion. I bought another new island and this one had a desert tower. Inside was a bunch of electric cubes from the last desert thing, but after a while I solved the puzzle and it gave me a seal and a spirit orb. I'll talk more about spirit orbs later, or maybe I won't, who knows. For now, I'm going back into the desert temple. This time, I made my way through the temple and in one of the rooms was a chest that contained the thunder rod. And with this rod, I could use it to damage enemies, harvest, and even power up the blocks in the temple. After finding the key for the boss room, I went in and used my rod on him. And it was doing what looked to be no damage. So I went in swinging with my pickaxe, but I didn't last too long and I had to retreat. Outside, I tried the rod on some trees and oh my gosh, this was the best new way of harvesting. I could wipe an island clean in about 2 minutes. After harvesting basically everything, I bought another island. And the only thing on this one was a little stone pillar. Everything I tried to do on it wouldn't work, so I just left it there and went back to the temple to finish off the boss. After taking him down, I was greeted with a chest. Inside was a seal and a spirit orb, and I could finally make royal steel because I had enough gems. But while I wait for that to cook up, I made a sticky ass bow and I never used it once. Island time. And on this episode, we have a new biome. It looks to be a graveyard, and on the island there was a goblin who wanted bones. And I really wish I knew this sooner because I have been selling all my bones for cash. I'm just buying islands left and right. And this one had another old geezer who was asking for a crazy item that I had no idea where to get. So I just went on my way and used the royal steel to make my first factory. Again, not the smartest move because I was nowhere close to making the stuff the factory offered. So I just went around searching for more gems. And when I finally had enough, I built my first quarry, which turned every spot in the island into a rock that could be harvested. So I could farm gems out the ass. With my royal steel production increasing, I can finally make electronics. Electronics are a key part to building higher level equipment. Enough nerd talk, let's spend some money. And we have made it to the snow biome, and there was a boost pillar that gave me XP for every item I crafted. And I was gonna use and abuse this. I finally had enough electronics to make my first mining rod. A mining rod will basically harvest resources for me. It's like stealing someone's edit that doesn't have a watermark. But with all these new resources coming in, I would need a place to store store them. So I headed to an empty island and started placing some vaults. With the vaults filled and my bank account increasing, I think it's time to expand. This island had some big piles of bones, and when I broke them, skeletons with some big ass swords came out like guts, and he almost one-tapped me, but when I killed him, he dropped a chest with a spirit orb. With those bone piles destroyed, I finally had enough bones to take back to the goblin, and he gave me a chest for my effort, but I needed a key because this guy's a douchebag and wouldn't open it for me. Inside the chest was a skull key that would allow me to open every chest without a key. My mining rod was having a little trouble clearing up the quarry all by itself, so I put down another just to speed things up. My resources were piling up, so I thought this would be the perfect time to upgrade some of my tools. I upgraded my pickaxe to the golden pick and my shovel to the water shovel. This would both increase their base stats and add a new ability to each. I still had no idea what I was doing with the shovel, so I did what I did best.
Spend money.
There was a lone sign here that gave me a riddle. I had no clue what it meant, but I did see some flowers and I destroyed every one of them. And that happened to be what it wanted me to do, and it gave me a chest. I got vampire wings, which gave me a 30% chance of gaining health and energy when I killed an enemy. I had another machine that I unlocked but never built, so I placed it down. The flower press would allow me to turn flowers I've been harvesting into resources or land. I unlocked swords and I immediately wanted them because there's two things every guy loves: boobs and a good sword. I placed down an oil rig right outside my base, and I don't know why I thought for the entire playthrough that it was a giant squid, but I don't know. I also spent this time upgrading and making every tool that I could possibly afford. I was feeling adventurous, and when I expanded again, this is exactly what I was looking for, another temple, but this time it was the skeleton maze. I'm gonna cut most of this out because it's a fucking maze, but the one interesting thing was this mysterious box that offered me two choices. I could gain 3 levels or get a droid, but I would have to sacrifice one of my health points. I ended up choosing the levels, and this would bite me later on. It was pretty bullshit, so to cope, I bought another island, and this one had a little lady, and she wanted me to give her some flowers. So I gave her some, and then she asked me to give her clothes. Like, damn, she's acting like I'm her fucking boyfriend asking for all this shit. The only natural thing to do from here is to make a cauldron. Now you might be asking, Jackson, what the fuck are you gonna do with that cauldron? Nah, I'm just playing, I wouldn't hurt a woman, but I will use it on some rocks. I came back once I had your stupid royal clothing, and she gave me a bow. Maybe she didn't think we were dating. Maybe I was the gay best friend all along. It's time to place another building that I have no idea what it does, and on this episode, it's the windmill. The windmill will allow me to make seeds and other junk, then I can plant it with the shovel. But for now, I'm gonna make the sapling that the old geezer was asking for. Once I spoke with the old man, he gave me a chest with a pair of glasses that gave me an XP increase. He then asked for a dino egg, which I had no idea where it was or how to get it, so I just left. I upgraded my sword to the skull sword, which increased my damage. And I thought this is exactly what I would need to beat the skull maze, so I went back in.
Let's go!
But I died again. So I bought another island, and I was met with this fucking jokester. This guy made me take a quiz, and every question I answered I got wrong. It's like I was back in high school. I have a stinky suspicion that any answer I did pick I would have got wrong, so I guess that makes me feel a little bit better. But he did reward me with a spirit orb, so it's okay. After I gathered my thoughts, I was back in the skull maze, and this would be the time. And I clicked the box once again, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought I would be able to back out of it, but I couldn't, so I gave up another heart. But after being extra careful with the big skeletons, I finally got to the end room, and I was met with the glorious blue chest.
Oh my, I failed the room before, twice.
Which gave me a seal and my heart back. I decided I wanted to turn the island into a furnace district, so I placed down bridges, then as many furnaces as I could fit. I wasn't done increasing production, so I picked another island and made it the factory district. My pickaxe was in need of upgrading, and I just needed some glow bugs, so I boxed them up and I was able to upgrade my pickaxe to the skull pick, which increases damage and deals bonus damage to bosses. I also made my first amulet, which increases the resources I would gather. I unlocked lighthouses, and these are very critical in Forager because they allow to boost and drops anywhere that was near them. So I placed some by my quarry to get even more resources. My coin has grown again, and it is time to buy another island. It had a foxman that was asking me for 500 pieces of shit for some reason. What he wanted these for was still one of the biggest mysteries. I still had so many achievements to get, and I thought this would be the perfect time to just grind out some random ones and upgrade my tools. I was met with a big tower and a little wizard, and he was asking me for some fire flowers. But I was back in my least favorite place, because I needed to find every secret room in the game, and in the maze there's another achievement for lighting up every pillar, so I went back in and made quick work of it. Back in the outside world, I completed one of the museum things, and bought another island of course, because that's all I do now. Finally, an island was something I can do. So I went to the fire temple and I needed to find 4 different keys to make my way through the temple. I got the blue key, then I found the red key, then the green key. And this would allow me to get the fire rod, which I could break the doors that are covered by vines. After some searching, I found the last key that would let me into the boss room. Was light work, and I got the chest with the seal and the spirit orb. I was immediately off to buying more land, and this one had another building, the Skull Galaxy, and for this puzzle I would need to find 4 specific items to put on the pillar. And once the 4 items were placed, I got a chest with, what do you know, a seal and a spirit orb. Y'all know the drill. The first island had pillars, and I had to place the 4 different types of gems on them. And once they were all placed, I got a quiver that lets me shoot my bow without needing any arrows. In the second island, there were 3 bells, and I had to play a little tune on them. After a little bit of harvesting, I finally had the fire flowers for the wizard. And now he was asking me for 5 star fragments. This fucking guy is basically saying I'm his bitch boy errand boy. I finished another table at the museum, and I bought another island. This had a freaky stone eye thing, which I blasted with my bow, and I got a shield, which gave me a 25% chance to dodge attacks. I figured out how I can get the 500 pieces of shit from Mr. Fox, because if you make some animal feed and feed it to the pigs around the map, they're basically shit duplicators. But I couldn't stick to just one task at a time, so I bought another island and went into the Ice Galaxy. And I was met with a little puzzle that I totally didn't go to YouTube to find the solution for. And I got a seal and a spirit orb and was back to feeding the animals. But this time I was feeding the chickens, because if you feed them animal feed, they have a very small chance of dropping golden eggs. So I found a chicken by my lighthouse and went to town on that little guy. The old fart that was looking for the egg gave me a skull that lets little skeletons not target me, making me even more powerful. I went back to Mr. Shitstick and gave him all I had, and he gave me a spirit orb. And then I gave a third of my star fragments to the wizard, and guess what this fucking guy did? He told me to get another thing. But I unlocked 2 new buildings. The Sigil Maker, which allows me to spawn the bosses, and a Void Portal. More on that later though. I also unlocked the Spirit Forge, which allows me to make spirit orbs and upgrade my rods. I also unlocked and placed a shrine, and these were actually so clutch late game. They basically give you an insane temporary boost every 20 minutes. I've been doing too much good around this town. I think it's time to go down the gambling rabbit hole.
Scrape it! Scrape that motherfucker! Scrape that shit, Johnny!
Except I won after the 3rd try and it gave me 3 gems, so it wasn't really worth my time.
Let's go.
My bank island was kind of wonky because of the pillar in the middle. It made it hard to move around, so I decided to relocate it. I was going all out with this setup. I placed 2 power plants next to them because power plants speed up crafting times on all structures that are nearby. After all the banks were situated, I went to the skeleton biome and placed a shrine to hope we get rare items. I would do this in every biome to get all the rare goodies in the game.
New NPC alert, new NPC alert.
We now have the engineer and he is asking me for 10 royal steel, which I gave him right away because I had too much. And in return he gave me a medallion which points to fallen stars. My city was getting taken over by monsters, so I had to come up with a plan. And my plan was Operation Take Back. The plan was to basically spam ballistas all over the map, so monsters don't even have a chance to spawn. And I made my first droid. Droids are very important in this game because they can kill enemies for you and pick up items, but they're only strong in numbers, so one won't do much. With my new droid, I thought this would be the perfect time to go into the void. So I crafted the void portal and placed it down. In basic terms, the void is a challenge arena where you go through different levels, and each level the enemies get stronger and increase in numbers. And every 5 levels you get through, you'll be rewarded with a void chest that gives you void items. And I got to level 10 before I got overwhelmed with monsters and ran out of time. When I got back, I could finally make void steel with my new items. I made a marketplace so I can have a bunch of different shops with different options. And in one of them was a droid that I could buy. So I immediately pressed buy like I was back in 2018 buying the Fortnite Battle Pass. I bought a piece of land a while ago that I haven't been to, and it has an ice cave on it. And when I got inside, it was basically just a big laser puzzle. It was like the Ben 10 level on the DS, and I hope y'all know what I'm talking about so I just don't sound crazy. I made my way through the cave and got a chest that contained the ice rod. And with this, I could get the boss key. And I'm not gonna lie, this might be the easiest boss I have faced yet. I don't know if it's because he's just easy or if I'm getting more powerful. Another island I haven't got to was this one with a miner and a big ass crystal. So I broke that bitch, and now the miner has no reason to live because he was mining that for his whole life, and I basically just came up and ruined it for him. The next island over, there was a ghost that was wanting to battle me. And I'm gonna be honest, this was like Old Man Netero versus Gon and Killua. They had no chance of landing a hit on me. But I think this is the perfect time to spawn one of these bosses. And the only one I could spawn was the skeleton boss. So I found an empty island and summoned him. I almost failed this boss, but luckily I beat him on my final life. After that, I headed to the red biome and got a dino egg from a dig spot. I took this to the tree man and he gave me basically nothing. I made the slime boss spawner, and this time I got even farther away from all my buildings, and I started the fight. This boss was very easy until the end where he started to go super sane. And I had to use a scroll on him because I was terrified.
Holy fuck.
I finally had enough void steel to give to this dickhead wizard, and he finally gave me something after all the tasks he's put me through. And he made it so that my rods will never run out of juice. I bought the final island, and this had the fire galaxy, which was another puzzle that I totally didn't look up on YouTube for the solution. Don't get mad at me in the comments saying that I cheated on this game. I have an IQ of 12 and this would have taken me 13 days to solve. I was running out of void resources, so I went back into the void. And I learned to get the Kraken Eye, I would need to fish in the void, so I spent some time in there, and I made it to level 17 before getting overwhelmed again. With my new resources, I could finally make my first nuclear machine. This would allow me to upgrade one of my buildings, making every item that it crafted, it would produce double. But the one catch is, I have to power it now with nuclear fuses, which are pretty expensive to make. While I waited for that to craft, I went to go solve a puzzle on an island that I totally forgot about. When it was finally crafted, I didn't know what I should use it on, but I decided to use it on one of my factories. In the meantime, I started one of the most annoying achievements, filling in every water tile on the map. While I was doing this, I ran into a ghost and decided to help him out. And with that, I've now talked and helped every NPC in the game. I was so close to completing the museum, but I was missing one big thing, and that was the cooking side of it. So I think it's time to become the Gordon Ramsay of Forager.
Hey, it's me, Gordon Ramsay here. Listen up. You shit sticks, I'm gonna teach you all how to complete the museum. You need to make 10 rolls of sushi, 10 fruit salads, 10 bowls of soups, 10 meat skewers, 5 ice cream cones, 5 cookies, 5 pizzas, and 5 sandwiches. Now fucking pray you didn't miss any. And with that, we had every cooking thing done.
Thank you, Gordon. I'll take it from here. Shortly after we completed the whole museum, I ended up selling one type of my gems, so I just decided to sell them all, and this put me over the 1 million coin mark. I needed to find every secret room in the game for an achievement, so I went back into past temples to search for them, and I eventually found them all. I also needed to fight one last boss before I've taken them all down, and that is the Dark Beet, but I had nowhere near enough beets to spawn him in. So I got to work planting and farming, and I eventually had enough to spawn him in. And he was by far the hardest one yet, because he was just spamming his fireball attack or whatever he was spitting out at me. I know what you might be thinking, what about the nuclear boss? I did fight him and I ended up kicking his ass, he was pretty easy, but I had no idea where the footage is, so you're just gonna have to take my word. I then upgraded my last staff and I should have got an achievement for it, but it never popped up, but oh well. I think it's time to finish the void achievements. So I headed in there for the last time to hopefully get to level 30. And I indeed made it to level 30, and I could not get any farther because I was far too weak. But I didn't have to get any farther, so I really didn't care. On to the next thing, which was filling in every tile of water. And I was missing one tile for at least 30 minutes, and I was just running around looking for it. I ended up breaking almost all my buildings, but it was hiding behind one of the random pillars on an island. And in the time that I spent looking for it, I had cosmic steel cooking out the ass. And when I came back, I had enough to make the obliterator, which is a tool that can basically destroy anything in the game. With this little gizmo, I could start my plan of getting 1 trillion coins. The first step was to remove a big area of land so I could place as many lighthouses as I can. And once I had a good size area, I started placing. The next step was to get my skeleton rod and start going ham. This would spawn skeletons that my droids would kill. And then the drops would be multiplied a shit ton because of all the lighthouses I have. And then it's only a matter of time of holding down the shoot button and selling the bones and skulls. I needed to fully upgrade all my gears and tools, so I just put my head down and went to work, and after a little bit of grinding, I've maxed out all my tools and gears. I only needed 3 more achievements, and the one I would tackle first was upgrading 50 of my buildings to nuclear, which I did pretty easy. And the last achievement I needed was making 1 million coins off banks, and there's nothing I can do for this achievement except wait. And while I waited, I decided to build a house, because it doesn't matter how much money or power you have. The only thing that matters is who you surround yourself with and where you call home. And after many hours, we finally have done it. We got the completionist achievement. We have maxed out every tool and piece of gear, we have learned every skill, we've bought every island, and lastly, we got every achievement. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please show some love, it is very appreciated.